So today we're going to talk about how to make your first $100,000 on the internet with your own agency, with your own business. So, how to make your first 100K. So we're going to go over a couple different rules here, and we're going to go over the 5 principles, the 5 rules that I think everyone needs to know and everyone needs to understand. So rule number 1 is you have to get the fucking money. So we're going to write this down. Now, rule number 2 is that cash must be collected. And you guys are going to see where I'm going with this. Rule number 3 is we have to figure it out. Now, usually I would say we have to figure it the fuck out, but we have to figure it out. So we want to figure out, what do we want to figure out? We want to figure out how to do exactly what it is we're selling. Rule number 4 is that you then have to get good. And then rule number 5 is that we have to repeat the process. So, why are these the 5 rules? Now, these 5 different rules are very, very important. So, you have to realize when you're just starting out in business that the entire reason that you're getting started in business is to make money. So, you don't have to be the most passionate about the thing it is that you're doing. You have to be passionate about learning how to build a skill set and then stacking these skills. I call it skill stacking. Going through and stacking these skills one by one until you have a plethora of skills. You have a whole, basically, toolbox of different skills that you can use in order to make money. So these are different skills like sales, like persuasion, written persuasion, systems, all the back-end technology stuff, all the infrastructure, all that stuff. So we want to get the money. So we have to find out where the money is. Now, who has the money? So a lot of you guys, you sell to broke people. And you deal with a ton of problems. You deal with people that can't even fork over $500, $1,000, $2,000. We don't want to be talking to these people. I'm going to go through how you're going to go and get your first few deals later on in this video. But I want to just go through these rules. So you have to go in with the mindset of I'm going to sell something and I'm going to get paid. A lot of people don't realize this. I don't know how because it's so damn obvious. But you can't go and you can't stack like 1,000 a month, 1,000 a month, 1,000 a month 100 times in order to go and make your first 100 grand. It's just not time efficient. So you have to constantly be increasing your prices. So when I say cash must be collected, right, these two go hand in hand. And we have to find the people with money, we have to get it from them, and we have to collect it. And so Grant Cardone has a great saying. He always says, who has my money? He'll say it in his videos. Who has my money? So you have to find the people with money, and you have to be in a mindset where you're actually trying to get paid. For some reason, a lot of you guys, you have these offers, you're selling these things, you have these whatever types of businesses that you guys have, and you're not in a mindset where you're actually like, okay, I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna hunt business and I'm gonna go and I'm gonna get paid. I don't understand it, but this is the exact same mindset that I went into my own business with and it worked out. So we have to figure out what we're gonna sell. Now, what are we gonna sell? There's 10 different business models to pick from within the program. I'm not going to go through all of them here, but you don't want to be selling your time for money. You want to be selling some sort of service where you're paid either on a monthly basis, weekly basis, something like this, right? Where you can start to get deals in and start to do business with people and actually start to make money and start to stack these contracts, stack these different clients. So next, a lot of people think, and a lot of imposter syndrome comes from people not actually understanding what it is that they're selling. Right? And so there's 4 different levels of confidence, right? You have to stay consistent, you have to become confident, then you become competent, right? Where you have an understanding of everything that it is you're doing, and then you become convicted. And once you become convicted in who you are and what you're selling and your business and the opportunity that it provides, what's going to happen is you're going to look at it like you have a golden ticket, like you're Willy Wonka in the chocolate factory, like you're Charlie in the chocolate factory. You have a golden ticket, and you're trying to give this to the person that you're pitching, and you're trying to help them get to where they need to go, which in turn is going to help you get to where you want to go. So don't get too caught up on going through the process, going through the motions. Oh, I have to learn every little thing about what it is that I'm doing in order to be successful at it. You want to sell the deal. You want to understand what it is you're doing. You want to understand how it works. You want to use conservative estimates. You want to use ROI frameworks, which I talk about in so many other different videos. And then you want to figure it out. So this, at the third level, is where you actually go and you do the service delivery and you build the skill set. So right here, we're going to build skills. Everything before this is sales. So sales is the most fundamental thing that you need to learn how to do. And so we need to be able to sell it. We need to be able to understand what it is that we're selling. We have to understand the psychology of it and really have to hit on the human and consumer psychology of the buyer in order to make them understand how the deal makes sense to them for where they're at. Next, here we're going to build the skill, and you might not be that good at it, but as long as you're doing your best, and as long as you're actually giving it 110%, 150% effort, and you're really trying, the people that you're going to work with, if you're on the ball and you're sharp, are going to be happy with you. Unless you totally shit the bed. Now that being said, if you totally shit the bed, offer them their money back, and then work until you get the results that were promised. So here is where we want to get good. And so we want to start to become not master level, because it takes years and years and years and thousands of hours in order to become master level at something, but we want to become adept. And you can learn a skill set. A lot of people don't really realize you can learn a skill set. The way that you learn something is, if you want to read books, I don't usually recommend sitting there and trying to read books until you've actually gotten some money in your pocket. But if you want to become adept at something, put 100 to 200 hours into actually learning the thing. Now, the best way to do this, to become adept at it, is to read 5 different books from something called the Old Masters, which are timeless classics. I'll write this down. So here's what I mean by this. So when I was starting out learning sales, and I had my first job, and I was trying to sell life insurance and whole life policies when I was a junior in college, and I lasted a few months of that job. I did one deal for like 200 grand, and then I never wanted to work in the industry again because it was so ridiculous, to me at least. So timeless classics from the Old Masters. So what I did was I said, what are the top 5 sales books of all time? And I read through those, right? And one of those was, I think I have it somewhere, it was a Zig Ziglar book, and he was this old school door-to-door sales guy, and he talked a lot about the art of storytelling and analogies and things like that in this book. You want to go and read these books. If you're trying to learn copywriting, go read Breakthrough Advertising by Eugene Schwartz, a couple other copywriting books, The Boron Letters, Gary Halbert. He talks about a lot of these different concepts. And so when you start to read this material, start to take notes and then understand the reasoning as to why they're actually saying what they're saying, and then try to put it together and see how it makes sense. Another example was when I was starting to learn how to play the guitar years and years and years ago. I was a big fan of Led Zeppelin, and Jimmy Page is one of the greatest guitar players of all time. And what I did was I took apart the Zeppelin songs, whether it was a solo, whether it was just the main progression or the main riff of the song, and I put it back together. And you can take a song like Since I've Been Loving You. I don't know how many people listen to that type of music. But a song like Since I've Been Loving You is just a pentatonic C minor. And if you look at all of the notes, they all fit within this scale. And then when you learn how to improvise and you actually learn how to play without thinking about everything that you're doing, you realize that, okay, this is all just within the C minor and the C minor pentatonic scale. And so then you start to get really good, because then you can improvise, you can play over backing tracks, and then you just start to actually do the activity without having to think about every little thing or every little note within the thing that you're doing. So when we want to get good, we want to look at people who are really good, and we want to learn from them right away. We don't want to waste any time. There is so much education from people who have been in the game and who were top level at the game. And a lot of people don't read books anymore. I recommend take a couple books, 3 to 5 or 6 books, go through them one at a time, take all the ideas, and actually implement all of the ideas within this material. So, rule number 5 is we're going to repeat the process. So, I'm going to show you guys how this actually breaks down. So, like I said, just to recap quickly, the first thing we want to do is we want to get good at sales. We want to figure out, okay, well, what business model or what market am I trying to attack? Where are the advantages? And how can I position myself differently? If you want to know how to position yourself differently, you have to do a lot of work and you have to figure out what's working and what's not working in the marketplace. And it's a lesson that I learned from the first business book I ever read when I think I was 15 or 16, from Made in America by Sam Walton. And he says, when everyone is doing something, you do the opposite. There's a lot of guys with these offers now, which is, you don't pay, you don't pay, you don't pay. Well, just go against the grain, flip the market on its head, and then move into actually doing what it is that you're doing. So, we're going to talk about this now, because the title of the video is how to make your first 100 grand. So, what I'm going to teach you guys in the rest of this video is not only how this breaks down, but I'm going to teach you guys how to do this as fast as possible. And so, what I would do is I would pick something. When I was starting out, I had the sales ability because I sold $40 million in loan deals in the 1 year and 9 months that I was working for the company that I work for. And so we'll talk about how this breaks down. So I already had the sales ability. All I needed to do was pick something, figure out how to sell it, figure out how to break it down, how to make it make sense to the customer, to the prospect, or to the buyer, and then figure it out on the back end after I already get paid. So your first 2 deals, we'll switch the colors here. So your first 2 deals are going to be the most important deals, because what we want to do, our goal here, is not only making just a little bit of money, but your first 2 deals are going to be the slowest to get, and they're going to be the least profitable for you as the person trying to go into business and make money. So our goal is to create evangelists, or if you guys don't know what an evangelist is, testimonials and case studies. Cool. So we want to create evangelists, and we want to create some sort of momentum when we start actually going out into the world and into the marketplace and trying to make money. Now, the business world is going to be the hardest possible world that you're ever going to find yourself in, because you're competing with everybody else in business. And a lot of people say that the marketplace is saturated. I don't really think so. There's tons of businesses to work with in Canada and America and Australia and Europe, wherever you are. There's tons of people with money. You just have to go out, like I said, and find the money. So our first 2 deals are going to be focused on creating testimonials, case studies, and evangelists. So I'll write this down as well. Our first 2 deals. Now, your first 2 deals should be the easiest sell in the world, because you're going to potentially work for free or for a couple $100. So you have to find out, number 1, you want to find someone who can use your service. And the good thing about business is you're not actually married to the thing that you're doing, right? You could go into like email marketing. I know that's a big thing now. Or you could go into like video production or content. I know that's on the rise. Or editing or something like that. But every single thing that you do is going to help you build a skill set. And then you can eventually merge all the skill sets into one and then create product suites and make tons of money, because you have a whole product suite, you have a whole infrastructure and ecosystem in your business. But we're not going to talk about that now. We're going to find someone who can use your service or whatever you're selling. Number 2 is we're going to ask if we can do it for them. And so when you're just starting out, you need proof of work. So you need social proof. And so when we ask if we can do it for them, it's a very easy pitch. You want to be incredibly transparent that you're just starting out, and you want to either try to get some sort of nominal fee right? Whether it's a local business, whether it's someone online, pay you a couple $100, or you just do it for free. And then you say, if I do this, can we implement it? And then can we see how it works? And then can I use it as a case study? Can I use this to pitch future clients? No one is going to say no to that, right? I love people that ask this because it shows that they're a hustler and it shows that they actually want to be successful and they actually want to win, because you need to do this first. Before you do anything, you need to do this first. You need to have some sort of competency and some sort of conviction that the thing that you're doing actually works and that you're going to be able to do it right. So your first deal or your first two deals, I always recommend to do your first two deals like this. We want to do this at a low fee, whether it's one time or something like that, or free. And so we want to collect these case studies, and you can do this a couple times. This shouldn't be the hardest thing in the world to do. All you got to do is hit up 100, 200 people and say, hey, I started this thing. Can I help you with it? And I'll do it for free, just if you just give me a testimonial. Easy. Now, once you have these, we want to actually go and we want to package up our results. Now, the way that you can do this is you can put all your results in some sort of Notion document or some sort of pitch deck, some sort of slide deck on PowerPoint. Just look at examples on the internet of successful pitch decks. And we package up our results so that we can use this in future pitches. Now, if you really suck and you can't get anyone to say yes, go through, and I see a lot of guys do this on Twitter, but you want to go through, I'll change the color here because this is an important note. If no one says anything, you don't have to wait for one of these people to respond. You can already start doing the work. So you can start doing work. And now what does that do? It improves your skill level, right? Rule number 3. So you can start doing the work, right? And so this is like samples of work. This is just samples that you can say, hey, I put together some samples for you. Here they are. Take a look if you like them. Do you not like them? What do you think, right? You can put samples. You can do like mock-ups. I know there's a lot of guys who do landing page mock-ups, and they send them to people, and that's how they get business, and they post them on the internet, especially if they post them on Twitter. And they seem to be doing pretty well. I know a couple people that have gone from 0 to like 7,000, 8,000 a month with examples of mock-ups and things like that. So samples of work, and this could be like, now the only thing that doesn't work here is if you're trying to run paid ads for people, because you need to spend money. So if you want to learn how to run paid ads, I just say try to run paid ads for yourself and then learn the infrastructure, learn the process, learn how to do the setup, learn how to do the copywriting, all that stuff. So samples of work, and so this can be like copy, this can be websites, this can be like email designs, this can even be things like UGC content. It depends on what you're doing, right? This is completely industry specific, but you want to go through and you can actually just start doing the work already. So I recommend as soon as you actually want to pick whatever thing it is that you're starting with, what you want to do is you want to just go through, okay, cool, what do I need to do in order to put together some sort of portfolio? Now, I'm going to erase this left side. So here's the next step. So we understand that we want to package our results up. But what do we put in this package? We just put our samples of work? Obviously not. The main thing is you want to show competency. And now competency is really important. And if you know any of my stuff or you know any of the things that I do, I really truly believe in showing hyper competency in the things that you're doing. Right? Show that you actually think clearly, you have a clear thought process, and you actually understand the fundamental first principles of what it is that you're doing. So we want to show competency. Now, how do we do that? So what we want to do here is actually a process that a lot of people don't really think about. And this is going to completely transform the way that you go about acquiring customers. Trust me. So we want to take our samples. So we want to take them from here. And then we want to start to break down the why behind what it is that we're doing. So break down your why. Now, David, why are you saying break this down? Are my samples not going to be enough? Absolutely not. So a lot of people are doing this, but here's where the offer positioning and the competency comes in. When you can see that someone has this, right? Me, for example, I want to get an understanding of how someone actually thinks about the process. How does someone actually think about achieving the desired result? So this is important. So I want to break down why we did what we did. We want to break down how it works. And we want to break this down in terms of our service. And we want to break this down in terms of the psychology. So we break down why we actually did what we did. So we want to show a clear thought process here. And we want to show this from point A to point Z, right? So how did we think about everything? This is how we differentiate ourselves from the market. Because when you're just starting out and you're a solopreneur, you're a wantrepreneur, you're just some guy trying to do some things in order to make money, we want to show a clear thought process, right? How do we actually achieve the desired result? Then we want to break down how it works. So how does our why work? And so how does our service work, right? What are we trying to achieve? I'll write this over here. What are we trying to achieve with said service or product? And then we want to break down the psychology of why it's going to work for the company. So why it works for the company. And then why it works on the consumer psychology side. Now, people have 4 reasons why they buy things. Get this out of the way. So people got 4 reasons why they buy things. Reason number 1 is that it gets them out of pain. Reason number 2 is that it gives them pleasure. Reason number 3 is that it saves them money. And reason number 4 is that it makes them money. So the 4 laws, or the 4, I'll just put consumer psych, are removes pain. 2, gives them pleasure. 3, saves money. 4, makes money. Then you implement this in your process. In pitch deck or process breakdown. Cool. So this is what you do for your first 2 deals. And also, if you're really good, you're going to keep doing this because this is how you're actually going to showcase your case studies. So this is the formula. I'll just write here. This is the formula for your case studies. And then when you actually have case studies, you're going to add in results achieved in the time frame, time horizon. Cool. Next, let's go through the math. So the math of this, we're going to annotate this as D1, D2, D3, and D stands for deals. Usually people write client, but we'll show this math here nice and big. Just let me erase this. Cool. Now, we have D1, right? D2, D3, D4, D5, D6. Cool. So deal 1, this is going to be, let's say this is free. Now, for deal 2, you're already working with somebody. So let's say we charge $500 to $1,000. Deal 3, we're going to continue up in the price. So now our maximum amount here is going to be our baseline. So we're going to charge let's say $1,500 bucks, right? Let's keep it nice and simple, right? Because this is how long or how much you should get paid for your time. And then deal 4, we're going to continually start increasing our prices, right? So let's say deal 4 is $2,000, deal 5 is $2,500, and let's say deal 6 we go up to $4,000, right? Because now we have experience. You have a clear thought process. You have clear case studies. You have a client list that you're building, and you're starting to actually make money. So let's just run the numbers here. Let's say you make 500 here. Let's say you make 1,500 here. This is 4,000, and then 6,500, and then 10,500, right? So on your first 6 deals, you should make $10,500. I recommend keeping these prices or finding some way to get to these prices, because the last thing you want to do is have, like, if it goes to like D7 through, let's say, D10, and you don't want to be caught in a spot where you have like a whole client list of like 10 people and you're making like 5,000 bucks. Like, if this is your total, you did something wrong, because you need to constantly be raising your prices. A lot of people, they stay at the $4,000 a month mark. I always recommend trying to increase it and working with bigger companies that can afford this. But that being said, this is how you get to your first 10 grand. So we're going to talk about something quickly here. So a lot of people think, okay, I'm going to make $20,000 a month, and this is how they do the math on 20 grand a month. They do the math on 20 grand a month like this. They say, I'm going to get 10 retainers at 2K, and then they're going to make $20,000 a month. And I'm going to do more videos on this, but this doesn't really scale that well, because now you have 10 people that you have to fulfill for. So the best way to do it is to go through and get a couple deals and then start to actually raise your prices to the baseline, which is probably going to fall, when you're a beginner, going to fall somewhere in between here. Now, 2,500, I would say, if you're really able to get results, is a baseline area where you should never go below. Sometimes you want to incorporate lower ticket stuff after you have a client roster, but that's a whole different animal. That's what happens when you build a product suite and you build organizational infrastructure into the business. So we don't want to actually go through and have 10 retainers at $2,000. This is a mess, and it takes forever to fulfill on, and you're going to get burned out really quick, and you're going to say this sucks, and you're not going to be in business. Because at the end of the day, if you have too much work and you have no one to help you on fulfillment, what's going to happen is you're going to get burned out, and then you're going to hate your life, and you're going to hate the business. Doesn't matter how much money you're making. When I was in sales, I'd be working 10 to 11, 12 hours a day on the phones, and I had no time to spend any of my money, and I hated my life. So, which is why I quit the job and went into business for myself. And now I work even more, but I actually enjoy it. I have time to do crazy shit like travel the world and drive supercars and all that stuff. So, what we want to do here. So this is your first 10 grand. Let's say all of these are one-time deals. We'll just say OTD, which means you're only going to get paid once. Your first 10 grand is really important because it's an important milestone for when you start your own business. A lot of people say that, the first few thousand, but you guys also have to realize that the average salary pre-tax that people make in America is about $40,000. Now, if you can make, and so if you divide 40,000 by 12, it's like 3,000 bucks a month. So really, we want to get to the point where we have 2 to 3, or maybe let's say 2 to 4 clients, or 2 to 4 sales at, let's say, this $2,000 to $4,000 range. And so what's going to happen is you're either going to make the minimum, you're going to make 4K a month, which is baseline. This is not change your life money. It could be change your life money, but I think it is when you're just starting out. But this is not going to be change your life money. But if you start to get up into like the $16,000 a month range, usually around $12,000 to $15,000, you really feel like your life actually starts to change. So when you get to this point, you're going to feel a lot better about your life. Now you're making way more than the average person in America, especially if you're young. Because especially if you're young and you're able to produce this much, you're going to feel super rich. I didn't probably have more than $2,000 in my bank account until I turned 22 years old. So that being said, we look at this, we're going to try to aim for like around $7,000 a month, I think is a really good target, because you're just shy of $100,000 a year pre-tax. You're going to have some sort of disposable income. You're going to be able to put $1,000, $2,000 away. You're not going to be balling. You're not going to be driving supercars, but you're going to be doing all right. So how do we transition this initial 10 grand that we made into some sort of recurring business model where we can actually get paid real money? And this is how we get to our first 100 grand. So we want to take these deals and we want to try to keep working with them. So I'm sure you guys have all seen Wolf of Wall Street. And in Wolf of Wall Street, he says on the phone, he says, this serves as a benchmark for our future business. So you can look at all these little baby deals that you do, right? The $1,000, the $500 deals, the $2,000 deals, even the $4,000 deals, as just a benchmark for doing future business with this person, right? So you could either upsell them or you can downsell them. Now here's what I mean by that. If the deal's at $4 grand, maybe we can upsell them to $6, right? Based on the level of service. If it's at $4 grand and they don't want to keep paying $4 grand a month, or you can't justify the amount of revenue that it makes, because there are a lot of businesses in the $50,000 to $100,000 a month range and the $500,000 to $1 million a year mark, where they can't really justify, based on their expenses, they can't really justify forking out $4 grand a month. So you could try to downsell them, right? Or if you downsell to like a $2,000 thing, right? And you start to build up this client base. And what's going to happen is you want to build out, and I always say that it takes about 6 deals. But let's say we actually let's bring this over here. Monthly recurring revenue here on 6 deals in this example would be 16 grand. And our cash collected total, because of our setup fee or our one-time fee, is going to be 33,000. So all we need to do is keep this going for a period of 6 to 8 months. So we'll keep this going for 6 to 8 months. And what's going to happen is we're going to make our first 100 grand. Everything takes time, especially when you're a beginner. But the thing is if you can actually run this, and let's say you add more clients or you raise the prices, these numbers can change. You can easily build this on a spreadsheet. Let's say we keep this going for five months, which is 100% doable. Now, in month 1, we have 16. Month 2, we have 32. Then we have 48, 64, 80. So what this means, at the end of month 5, we've collected $80,000, and we want to add back in the $17,000 of the cash collected that we made. Here we have $97,000. And so at the turn of month 6, in month 6, we have finally made our first $100,000, and we're actually going to have made $113,000 in 6 months if you follow this framework. So keep these ideas in mind. You can model this out, like I said, on Excel. But this is how you make your first $100,000 on the internet, especially within your own business. And then after we do this, right, for the rest of the year, you're on track here to do $226,000 in a year in your first year of business. You're good at $226,000 a year. You're going to have a lot of money to do a lot of things. You can travel the world. You can have a nice car. And you can start to hire people. You can hire people to help you fulfill, to reduce your time, and you can now focus on growing the business. That's it. I'll see you in the next video.